The audio. What camera am I here? 3. A little trouble with the audio for the VTRC, technical terminologies, but anyway, we're going. So, welcome. It is December 1st, and things are moving along. This is going to be Freedom of Association week for us. That's kind of going to be the main topic, and of course, this Freedom of Association is coming live from the two-time Emmy-winning studios of SCC. So, we're glad to have you here with us. Okay, a lot of things going on. Yesterday, the Supreme Court came down with an issue, with a ruling on whether the judges can and have the constitutional right to appropriate money for the state of Minnesota when there's a shutdown. We're going to talk about that. Very good reading. But we'll also see why our judges need to be held accountable, because they really did some stupid stuff in there, in my opinion. They punted, to say the least. Also, we will be looking at the Ramsey County Truth and Taxation hearing, also the Vikings hearing that took place in the Senate, showing some clips from both of those, and of course, some people are really interested in the Maplewood trash. And of course, Maplewood trash does not just affect Maplewood, it's affecting other cities, and other cities are trying to push this forced government takeover of private property and lack of freedom of association. And Maplewood voted to move in that direction again. There's still some final things they got to work out, but oh my goodness, they were not ready for what took place Monday night, and they really got shown that they're just really amateurs in this whole process, and it's too bad.
You guys are like right away. Oh, that's all.
We're getting the video ready. We got a lot of it, so that's what we're going to be talking about today. So a lot of interesting stuff. I want to say, first of all, it's been over a month since I've been on live, and we were playing footage from the Alliance Defense Fund when they were here. They sue and protect individual rights regarding the religious liberties, or group rights regarding religious liberties, and played tapes from them from when they were in town. And of course, what we're looking at here is where was I? Oh yeah, we had 3 issues. One was just the history of our founding of our government, and how much our government is structured after biblical principles. Whether it's the Supreme Court, the 3 branches of government, how often the Bible was used to structure our government. And the primary thing is that rights come from God, not from people. That's a huge thing. And you look at the United Nations, our rights are coming from people. And if people can give the rights, people can take them away. So if God gives the rights, only God can take them away. And that's the whole idea there, where our country is built on protecting individual rights. Because if you don't protect individual rights, then only the collective has rights. And guess what? If you're an individual that's going against the collective, or has a different opinion, different thoughts, the collective can destroy you. And that's what was going on in Maplewood. We do know who the Marxists are, the neo-Marxists in Maplewood. And basically, everybody on the city council, except maybe Marv Copen, but he does it on other things. So he got by with it this time, but you have to watch him too, in how he performs. But so, how our country was founded on religious liberties. I thought it was fascinating to hear the Terry Shriver case and one of the attorneys involved in that, and the information there that she was responsive and could respond to people's questions, and the stuff that came out in the press was just totally false. And it's amazing. So basically they ended up starving her to death and dehydrating her to death. It's a tragedy. And then the third show was on religious freedoms in public schools. So it was good stuff. Okay, I enjoyed it. Now, coming up December 22nd, we got some shows already made. I just want to inform you what they're going to be. Is Randall Terry, who is running for the Democrat Party for president. He's running, trying to get the endorsement against Barack Obama, our current president, and he's running on a pro-life stand, and you're going to want to watch that show because it's interesting what he is doing. And now that show has already been made for December 22nd, but what you also need to know in here, just yesterday his son died. He was 31 years old, died in a traffic accident, head-on collision, and 3 other people were injured in that accident. They're going to be, you know, okay. You know, they were hurt, but they're going to make it through it. So it's just interesting that took place. Also, on December 29th, we have another show that's already taped, but we went over the judicial reform hearing that took place down at the Capitol a week ago Thursday, before Thanksgiving, so 2 weeks ago. And that was quite an interesting hearing that took place. So the Senate heard 6 years in the making as far as I've been involved, other people longer, but 6 years to get this hearing in the Senate done, and it was good and it was positive, and I think it's moving in the right direction. We're going to see a reason when we go over this Supreme Court answer today as to why we need reform in our judiciary. And, okay, so those are upcoming shows, December 22nd, December 29th. Also, I want you to know that not the Alliance Defense Fund, but there's another group out there, ACLJ, is suing Texas Planned Parenthood because they've committed hundreds of millions of dollars in fraud for the Planned Parenthood there, where they double billed. And I think California had a problem with that, but they're suing Planned Parenthood. And Planned Parenthood is a you know, its roots is in the Nazi system, the American Eugenist Society. Those people the Americans did not fight through the war at all. So they're still alive, and their philosophy is still alive and going well. So they're suing Planned Parenthood, and of course we got now this big abortuary being built, or as I call it, Auschwitz death camps. In St. Paul, and that's all because of Obamacare funding that's going into place. They're moving all these, that's being built because of Obamacare, and designed to kill as many children as they can. Okay, I just got to do some technical work with the studio here. The Maplewood DVDs, it should be a blank DVD. There is a piece of paper written with the times on there when we get to that. It should be the last in the row. Okay. All right. Supreme Court here. There's petitioners. This is Senator Warren Limmer and others versus Lori Swanson and Kathleen Guerin, Chief Judge of Ramsey County District, along with other people. But this ended up being a 6-1 decision. Although you don't, you know, on these things, you know, they list the people who talk and write in this thing. They don't list the people who agree but didn't write anything. But you then can't know 10 years from now who, you got to go look up at who was in the Supreme Court at that point in time in order to see who made the decision. I just think that's wrong. Everybody should have their names down there as to how they voted. And only Justice Page dissented, and he wrote a great dissent. Now, some people don't like Justice Page. I like him a lot, and the main thing about Justice Page is he was elected, and the people put him in there, and he has written many dissents that have been correct. And especially in family law cases and in father's rights and parental rights cases, he's been one of the dissenters in these cases. And so others don't like him. I'm I'm borderline because there's other decisions dealing with corporations and stuff that I haven't liked. But anyway, in his dissent, and I like the way he writes because he doesn't really mince words. I respectfully dissent. The case, here's how this court ended up doing this. They said it was moot. Okay, and moot meaning it's a non-issue now because they settled the budget. Okay, and since it's a non-issue, we really can't move forward on this case. We can't make a decision. It's for the legislature to decide and do their budget, which is true. And that was part of the point, but it wasn't true when the suit was filed. That's the point, at that point in time. So this is a game the judiciary plays when they just want to pass the hat, punt the ball, just get rid of it. They don't want to deal with it, and that's what they did here. And they come up with all kinds of twisted contortions to say, we're really not going to deal with it. But Justice Page rightly wrote here, this case came to us in the midst of a constitutional crisis in Minnesota government, triggered by the failure of the executive and legislative branches to reach agreement on appropriations for most state agencies and for the judicial branch for the 2011-2013 biennium. As a result, for the third time in a decade, it fell to a single district court judge in Ramsey County to decide which state agencies, if any, would continue to operate, and by extension, which functions, if any, the state government would continue to perform. Here's the problem with this statement. The one problem I have with that statement, otherwise that's a good summary. He says it's a constitutional crisis. It's not a constitutional crisis because the Constitution is clear, okay? Only the legislature has the ability to appropriate money, okay? That's it. And the judiciary does not have that authority to do that in our Constitution. Therefore, a Ramsey County judge cannot appropriate any money, which is exactly what Kathleen Guerin did. Now, what needs to happen is for the House to take Kathleen Guerin, bring her before her and say, why did you appropriate money when our Constitution is clear you can't do that? Find out our answers and then impeach her because she violated our Constitution. And then the Senate needs to have a trial and convict her of violating her oath of office to follow the Constitution. That's what needs to happen. Now, another thing that needs to happen, though, the crisis comes in this situation, if there was a crisis, is that Dayton vetoed the budget that was established, and this time by the majority Republican Party, and the session ran out of time, so there was no budget for the state. Then there's no budget. What needs to happen is they needed to get together, what Senator Dayton would not do, would get together and have a bill that would then carry and keep the government open at its base functions, and the legislature decide that. That's what needed to take place, but they punted. So that does not then give Judge Guerin, Kathleen Guerin, the right to go and appropriate money. She may think it's a crisis. The crisis, we don't know. We never found out. Okay? And so, anyway, Judge Page has it right here. So there's two issues. You have Article 3, Section 1 in the Minnesota Constitution. The powers of the government shall be divided into three distinct departments: legislative, executive, and judicial. No person or persons belonging to or constituting one of these departments shall exercise any of the powers properly belonging to either of the others except in the instances expressly provided in this Constitution. And there is no provision for a judge to appropriate money. And Section 11, Article 11, Section 1 of the Minnesota Constitution says no money shall be paid out of the treasury of this state except in pursuance of an appropriation by law. Okay, that means the legislature has to do it. And Anyway, it's a good read. Justice Page really goes into the right. He says here, it is precisely because of the questions presented by the petition about the powers of the judicial branch that the court must hear and decide this matter. It is emphatically the province and duty of the judicial department to say what the law is. By failing to address the questions posed by the petition relating to the separation of powers, the court creates the perception, if not condones the reality, that the judicial branch has violated both constitutional provisions by effectively making appropriations, a power reserved to the legislature, in violation of Article 3, Section 1, and by authorizing the payment of funds from the state treasury in the absence of a legislative appropriation in violation of Article Election, Section 1. Fantastic. Right there. That's a powerful statement. And he has other concerns in this. Judge Page does. Impasse between the two political branches of government are part and parcel of the political process. Impasse between the two political branches of government that result in a request for the judicial branch to intervene and to decide the very issues on which the other branches of government are at impasse make the judicial branch part of that political process. In other words, judges are politicians then, and they become political. Here, at some level, it seems that each of the two political branches, along with their surrogates, is using the judicial branch as a tool to reach their respective political ends. And once the judicial branch is perceived to be part of the political process, we have put at risk the independence of the judiciary that is fundamental to our tripartite system of government. Our silence on the limits of the district court's authority allows others to question whether the judiciary has already become politicized. And believe it, folks, our judiciary is politicized because it's political people that are appointing judges. Judge Page was the only one elected. He owes his allegiance to the Constitution and the people that wrote the Constitution, and those are the people that elected him. And every other judge there owed their allegiance to whatever governor appointed them. And unfortunately, you have Paul Anderson, well, you have Strauss, you have Gilday, you have, and Gilday's name isn't even on here, although she wrote it. Oh, wait. Well, that's what I heard. Let's see who wrote this. Maybe Strauss did. Strauss wrote it. Okay. But all these Republican appointees approved this, and it's terrible. I don't get it. All right. We are going to watch some Vikings hearing coming up. But, again, whew. Big order that came out, and Justice Page, way to go. He gave the legislature, the House of Representatives, all the ammo they needed to go impeach these judges, or Judge Guerin. That's where I would start. Impeach Judge Guerin for violating her oath of office. All the evidence is right there. And they have that power, and we, the people, gave them that power to do that. They need to step up to the plate. All right. Another thing going on with freedom of association was the Viking Stadium hearing. Okay, are we close to the video? We're ready to go. Here, Brian Olson, there's a lot of talk as to whether Ramsey County gets to vote or not vote, but Brian Olson spoke and he laid it out correctly. And so we're going to hear what he has to say on whether Ramsey County gets to vote on this or not.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Brian Olson. I am a member of the Ramsey County Charter Commission, and I represent District 3. As a member of the Ramsey County Charter Commission, many people have told me that they want a voter referendum on any stadium sales tax. And I have told them all that despite what they may read in the newspapers, they already have that right to vote. That right is already in state statutes. Sales taxes have to be approved by the legislature and voters. In Ramsey County, we also have a charter that has petition and referendum powers. Citizens can also use this as a means to bring about a referendum. Many people don't seem to know this, And if they rely on the Star Tribune and the Minnesota Vikings for their information, they might never know. May I quote from the Star Tribune's editorial of September 30th. It says, quote, "The Ramsey County Charter Commission could make the issue more complicated if it decides to give voters the chance to vote in 2012, end quote." Now, this statement gives the impression that the Charter Commission decides whether there will be a referendum or not, and nothing could be further from the truth. Now, what the Charter Commission members can do is to ensure that county voters' rights are preserved and that the charter is not thrown out and nullified by the legislature. The Star Tribune editorial also said that since a constitutional amendment for initiative and referendum failed in a statewide election in 1980, that somehow this means that people don't want it, ever. The newspaper conveniently omitted the fact that Ramsey County voters approved initiative and referendum 10 years later in 1990. Now, the Minnesota Vikings website commits the same kind of omission and twisting of facts to suit their own purposes. I quote from their website, "Target Field included a local option sales tax but did not require a voter referendum. The Vikings believe they should be held to the same standard as the Twins and Hennepin County." Now, the Vikings here are omitting a very important fact. A voter referendum was required. There was no standard applied in 2006. What happened is that a majority of legislators at that time decided to waive the state statute that required a referendum. Another difference is that Hennepin County does not have petition and referendum. It does not operate by the charter form of government, but Ramsey County does. The Vikings website also says, quote, the Ramsey County commissioners regularly make decisions of much greater economic impact to their residents without a referendum. Therefore, it would be inconsistent to require a vote on this proposal. Now, this statement ignores the fact that a voter referendum cannot simply be asked for or prevented by whomever is screaming the loudest. There are laws and legal processes that trigger referendums only under certain circumstances, and sale tax proposals are among them. Many county residents I have talked to and I have heard at Charter Commission public hearings, they are concerned that the legislature will not only waive the state statute.
And wrap it up, please.
Yeah, and they are concerned that they will, that the legislature will waive the state statute, and the charter was something that they voted to have, and it should be, that vote should be respected. Thank you very much.
Questions for Mr. Olson?
All right, and Mr. Olson was very correct there. Now, what we're going to do, that's the only clip for the Vikings thing we're going to play. We're running out of time, so we'll go to the truth and taxation one next. But Brian Olson, you know, he really stuck it to the Vikings in one of the major papers. You're misleading the people. And he was absolutely correct about this. What Brian was right, it's in our statutes, but it's also in our Constitution for these special taxations per county or local government units. It's in our Constitution. The people get to vote on that. It's also in there unless the legislature decides not to let them. So there is that out in there, but that's an action that has to take place by the legislature, and I think they got the message that the people want to vote on this if there's going to be this vote. And so that's the correct process. So Brian gave the right information there. Now, watching this hearing, here's the message I got, is this: Minneapolis, do your homework. Don't come to us with 3 options, to the legislature with 3 options. Do your homework, make it one option so it's narrowed down. What do you want it to be, Minneapolis? It's your people there, Hennepin County, that's your area. Make up your mind. Okay, that was explicit in the hearing. And then the message to the Vikings was, do you want our money? Then we are going to tell you where to put the stadium if you want our money, and we're going to tell you how to save. And we're going to save our taxpayers as much money as possible. Now, then it's basically going to say, Vikings, you get to choose now. Okay? Now, of course, I don't think there should be any money except for roads leading into an area that the taxpayer have to spend. Okay? But this idea of having that stadium up in Ramsey County in Arden Hills and having it being government property where it will not get any property taxes is stupid. Okay? It's not good, and it's going to tax the people a tremendous amount of money. So, the message was strong. You're going to spend our money, we're going to tell you where we want to build the building, okay, because it's our building, if we're buying it. Otherwise, he's got a lot of other options, and in my opinion, and we didn't get to hear Tom Goldstein, but he's basically saying what is not on the table today, and there's going to be a hearing on December 6th on how to finance this. What is not on the table and not in that hearing was how to pay for the stadium privately, not using taxpayer money. Are there options and ideas? That will be good to hear. And anyway, there's no reason for taxpayer money to build the stadium. Okay, Ramsey County has a truth and taxation hearing every year about property taxes and how they calculate them and why they're going up and all that kind of stuff. And even though your property went down, why is your property taxes going up 18, 45%? You know, it's just all over the place. And there was a lot of good comments at the hearing. And so we're going to start off with, I forget who's number one, but let's play this clip.
Daniel Zimmy at 4260 Ryland Lane in Shoreview, and I'm grateful to the three people. It only took 30 seconds because that can bump my time a little bit. I happen to be probably one of the only working stiffs here in the room tonight, but I thought this was more on budgeting for our taxes and home taxes and things, and I'd like to address a few things in no particular order. Lest you think I have a cold heart, my daughter's on full-time staff with Teen Challenge. My sister used to work at the Lake Owasso home, and I'm the executive director of a 501c3 ministry for the last 34 years. I've been married 42 years, and I've been in construction 46 years. I grew up right off University Avenue in St. Paul, and we used to go downtown on the streetcar, okay? And now they're putting back in the light rail. We need that like a fish needs a bicycle. They were glad to get rid of it. Nobody goes downtown for anything, and the Amtrak really works, doesn't it, guys? My taxes in Minnesota right now are over $10,500. They went up 9% last year, 7% this year. I've got some hunting land up in Carlton County. They went up 59%. And I talked to the Attorney General. He said, call social services. And I find that half the county's on welfare, 12% are on Social Security. And if any of you are here tonight lobbying for any particular item or ministry, I don't care how good it is, you're part of the problem, you're not part of the solution. And I was embarrassed tonight for Tony Bennett says, well, with all our head scratching with our essential services, we've been able to cut things 3%. It sounds like the super committee, huh? You give me 20 minutes and I'll have your budget cut in half. And I'm just a little bit tired of the taxes. My home here, my tax base should not be based on what you need, and it should not be based on what you think it's worth. My home should be based on what you're willing to pay me for it, okay? And if you want to cut a check for $550,000, I'll take it, and I'll be leaving the door, and I'll move out of Ramsey County. You people are drunk on our money. We've got more problems and more social this and that, and I do have a heart. I've given my life to other people. I do not have health insurance. We lost it 3 years ago. I've been a sole proprietor. I still have a minute and a half. I broke my neck last January, and we do not have health insurance. I self-tractioned at home after an x-ray, and for 3 months I did self-traction, and a medical doctor friend of mine gave me enough painkillers to kill 3 people. How many people do you know that broke their neck and never went to the doctor or the hospital? And again, I say tonight, essential services, these are needs and wants tonight, but I tell you, the wants far outnumber the need. And you've got to bring it back to reality. Your budget should have reflected a 30% reduction, not a 3%. And if you, people, I didn't know this, if you got pay raises, you have prospered in our time of need, and we're tired of it.
Yeah, very good. I just found out that was one of our producer's uncle. I did not know that, but very good. Now, the 3% cut is of the projected increase in the budget. So you got to understand, there's last year's budget, then there's the increase of the next year's budget, and then they decreased what there was planning on the budget by 3%. So that's how people can get raises, is because there's all these projected increases that are built into the system. So they cut back on 3% of the increase. So they didn't struggle with that. I mean, there's a point you got to freeze salaries. You know, that's just part of the deal, and they're not willing to do that and not willing to put up that fight, and they should be. But very good statements there. Okay, if the third one, the lady. Now I want listen very closely at the beginning of what she has to say, because it's funny, but true.
27 Wellesley Avenue, and I am the executive director of the Alaperto household in McAllister Groveland. And you know, I found it very clever that you included a brochure with my proposed property tax statement that said, why was my property value going down but my property taxes are going up? That in itself tells me that the new calculation was designed to raise my taxes. What can we actually do to stop this increase from occurring? I'm facing a 12.5% increase this year in my property taxes. Last year it was 11.2%, and the year before that it was 10.8%. I mean, this is just incredible. It's just incredible. And, you know, I guess I'm going to be the evil conservative here, tonight, and say that, I mean, I love Meals on Wheels. All these charitable programs I think are vital to our community, but I think we need to return some of that responsibility to the churches and charities and things like that. The government is not the one who is supposed to be the be-all to everybody. We can't pay for everything because, I have to say, I've lived in St. Paul all my life. I'm 53 years old, and when I got my tax statement in the mail the other day, I decided I'm leaving. I have to leave. I can't pay it anymore. It's just, I'm a single homeowner, and this just is not sustainable for me. So after all these years, I have to leave. I'll go to any of the suburbs and pay half of what I'm paying in property taxes. So, thank you.
Freedom of association. I'm leaving. I don't have to be here. I'm leaving. I liked what she had to say. She's the executive director of her family. Yeah, that's a nice way. That's a nice way to put it. So she runs the show at her home, and that's a good title for her. But freedom of association, and people are doing this, and you need to do it. But the best way is to don't elect these people that are like the prior speakers spoke, that are drunk on your tax dollar and are drunk on raising this money. They have no control over themselves. And they're doing good. In their mind, they're doing good, but it's a threat of a gun. And we're going to see some other speeches here, but the next one is really good. And are we close to ready on that one? No? Okay. But we're going to only play a few of these. the government needs to explain themselves. People, we got to hold them accountable, and we got to get rid of them when they're not doing their job. And the government's job is to protect our constitutional liberties, okay, our freedom of association, to protect us so nobody takes away our life, nobody beats us up, nobody slanders us. You know, that's their job, to protect the unalienable rights that come from God. Their job is not to take your money, steal it so they can give it to somebody else for their own wishes. All right, here we go. This is a good one on applied math. Let's watch this. All right, we lost the audio on that. They'll try to figure that out. Let's try. Well, let's just go to the next one, number 5. And I don't know if somebody pushed the mute buttons or what, but anyway, that man there had a doctorate in math. Okay, a doctorate in math, and he said an applied mathematics. And he couldn't figure out the tax bill. Okay, it was pretty funny, and he just was doing the
taxes went up.
Okay, we got one ready? All right, let's go with it. Our DVD is playing tricks with us. I tell you what, if the sound comes back, just keep it going. Don't just take me off the air. But let's go to the next one. Let's go to Greg Copeland speaking, if we can, if we get to number 5. All right. Anyway, a lot of vocal people standing up and talking, and you know, some of the things they said, it's not okay to raise taxes in this climate that we have, and the government needs to be cutting expenditures lower than what they were the year before. And another person said there should be illegal limits on how much our taxes can be raised. In other words, somebody had 45% being raised in their taxes from the county. So that's a huge, that shouldn't be right. There should be a limit of no more than, say, 5% or cost of living adjustment. And then another person talked about takers versus payers, and those that just take money. And of course we need to pay those who provide services for our people, the police, the fire, the sheriffs, the judges, and all these departments. Yeah, are they takers, but they're working, versus, and then you have the payers, the people that work, that pay for these services, but then you have the takers who don't work. And some can't work. You know, obviously that's the case. But actually that should be left to the churches, to social organizations, and not to the county. The county shouldn't be involved in that, and the state shouldn't be involved in that at all. All right, are we going to get anything here? Okay, we're going to give it another try. Is this Copeland? All right, let's go with this.
Greg Copeland. I live on Cook Avenue, right off of Payne on the east side. And you know, I didn't know I was coming tonight to say how wonderful Meals on Wheels are. But you know, at $200 for Meals on Wheels for our folks, how many more of those meals could have been delivered had this board not spent money chasing that Viking stadium? How many thousands of dollars have been spent chasing the Viking stadium? You know, if you're interested in providing services to the public, and I guess you are because you're a county commissioner, then let's spend the money on the people who live in the county rather than on some guy from New Jersey that wants a stadium. Actually, I didn't come here tonight to take a shot at Ziggy, but you know, after listening to all this about Meals on Wheels, when you've been spending months since February on this damnable stadium, I think we really are deserving of better service from you folks. And here's what you can do to fix your public relations problem. You can cut the budget by less than 1%. You've got a $572 million budget. There's no reason why you couldn't cut that by just $4,674,604. That's the amount of the levy increase, folks. You know that you can operate this county on less money than you're currently proposing for 2012 without impacting on public services. Folks, it's time to really do something about some reform. Commissioner Bennett talked about it's too late for the status quo. He couldn't be more right. Did you know that about 10% of the unemployed people in Minnesota live in Ramsey County? Think about that. Over 20,000. And that's just the official count. We do have problems in our county. We do need your help. But we don't need you to be raising our taxes when we've got that many folks that are unemployed. We haven't even talked about the folks that are losing their homes. In my neighborhood, we have empty houses.
Time.
Well, you know, that's another thing. 2 minutes?
Yeah.
2 minutes? You guys spend our money all year long? You don't even put this thing on live broadcast? You know, we talked about that last year. You broadcast your meetings every Tuesday for hours and hours on end, talking about all the good committees you go to. Why don't you bring that remote truck next time? A little public relations advice again. And Ms. Kleinschmidt, go find another % and outdo yourself. Thank you.
Yeah, you know, they do play their meetings live. They don't archive them, is my understanding. And now to do the truth and taxation, they go to a facility where it's not shown live and can't be shown live because they don't want it to be shown live. They don't want to hear people criticize them. Okay? I mean, they know it will happen at that hearing, but they also don't want it recording. Well, we got the recording, and we'll try to get it out, find a way to so you can see more of what was said at the hearing. And actually, we'll send them a copy and see if they'll put it on their internet. That's what we should do, to see if they have some place for it. Okay. All right. Well, truth and taxation needs to be made public so people can watch it. All right. Now we're going to get into Maplewood and see what's going on there. Now, there was a hearing Monday on the trash, but it wasn't just about the trash. And this isn't something that's important to know. And before we see this video of Maplewood, I'm going to set it up with this. When the city goes and improves the road, 20% of the cost must be borne by the people whose road is being improved. Otherwise, they have to go through a different procedure. They have to actually have a referendum on that, and there's got to be a vote, is my understanding. But if they raise 20% of the money, then they don't have to have a referendum. They can just do it by the vote of the city council. So now, one of the criteria for what you charge a resident is that your property value has to go up by the amount, at least the amount they're being charged. So if you got a bill that says, okay, this is going to cost you $6,600 in road improvements, well, your property value needed to go up by that much. Okay, but here's the interesting thing that we found out is that that dollar they charge you has no relationship to property value. They just will need to get the 20%. That's what they're figuring in. Okay, 20%, how do we divide this? Who, you know, has nothing to do with how much your property value is going up. And so Diana Longry sued on behalf of 3 people, and she's got a lot more suits going on out there because people's property value did not increase. They already have sewer, they already got a street, they already got curbs, and these things get redone. How much is that going to increase your property value? Not very much, if anything. Okay, and especially in a down real estate market. So she sued, and she won, and a state judge said, here's what you got to do, city. I can't tell you the amount, but you can't be above zero. Basically, there's no increase in property value. You got to decide, you got to make that up, and here's the criteria. Well, the city came back, and they're talking about a motion here to say, okay, the increase, as what they projected before, was $6,600 in property value for the, you know, the average place. And they came back with the same appraisal, but yet this is what they said. Well, we really think it should have been $7,600, but we're going to shave it back to $6,600, which was the same amount. But the judge didn't order that. They can't come back with that number because the judge adopted the findings of fact from somebody else. Well, here's Diana explaining to them what took place. They were on notice. Here it is.
Council, I'm Diana Longry, officing at 1321 Frost. And I'm here this evening representing the 3 property owners that are subject to the special assessment: Paul Bergman, Kathy Haley, and Margaret Haggerty. And I do want to have the council recall that these properties have already gone through the judicial system, court file number 62 CV09123325, where the judge determined that there was no increase in market value and that he adopted the findings, in his findings, the testimony of the property owner, Bergman's appraiser, and that the judge determined at that time that the market value that the city was proposing of land only was not appropriate, that, and as you folks have the copy of the court order, that the reassessment should be consistent with the findings of the court, and that the city did not appeal the judge's order and how he determined that the reassessment should be done. And so with that in mind, I ask you to reevaluate the staff's recommendation to you in light of the court order you were given last time at the public hearing, and in light of case law, and that adjust the special assessment accordingly. Thank you very much. And as before, I want it to be known that since this has already been somewhat determined by district court in a court file already, that while we are objecting to this assessment again, since you're assessing at the same exact amount you assessed before, that we feel that this assessment is not consistent with the findings of the judge in the Ramsey County Court, and that really this is just, this reassessment amount that you've assessed is in bad faith and for purposes of harassment. Thank you.
Bad faith and for purposes of harassment. The judge ordered there was no increase in market value, according to the appraisers. That's what the judge decided. In Maplewood there, the mayor Rosbach goes, okay, anybody got any questions? This is what I remember that happened. No questions. John Nephew motioned that they adopt the city's recommendation that they assess these 3 homes the full amount that they assessed them before. Just arrogance on these people's part. This is, you know, and it's costing you in Maplewood money because it's going to be appealed, it's going to be litigated again, and the judge is going to get ticked off, and then there's going to be punishment against the city. Okay, and it's you, the taxpayer, that has to bear this because of our arrogant city council members in Maplewood. It's amazing here. It'd be interesting to see what they have to say or what they come up with, but it's not going to be pretty, and it's going to cost a lot of money. In the end, these people are going to win, and because it's bad faith, and what was the other word she used? Punishment, basically. She'll get attorney's fees, and the city will pay for them. Now, I know the city doesn't want that, but I mean, this is egregious stuff here. That was huge in that hearing yesterday, and I know the place was full dealing with the Maplewood garbage stuff, and we're going to see that in a second here. It was full, and most of the people did not understand what took place there, and that was just as important as the garbage or the forced taking of private property by the government and forcing you to pay for services that you don't, and give away your freedom of association. This was just as bad, and most people there did not understand that. But thank you, Diana, for standing up. Good job, and that battle will continue. All right, are we ready for our next clip? Our next clip, what we're gonna do is see some of the ruckus that took place. You could have watched Diana's show or Bob Zick's show last night. We're just going to show some of the ruckus that took place at the hearing. And I'm going to talk over it. The sound's going to be up a little bit, but we'll see how it goes. And what's hard to do is these are on DVDs. They got to find this place. Sometimes they go past whatever. It's just hard to do. All right, we got the video. Let's watch.
All right, we're going to stop now. I'm going to recess the meeting. The council is going to leave the chambers until you decide that you're going to act like adults. When you guys are ready, we'll be back.
Thanks for wasting my time.
Is it possible? You can stay all night if you want to.
Thank you, Chief. Let him talk. Good job, Mayor.
It's up to you. We can continue, but we're
You
not
guys are
going
an
to like
embarrassment. Who are you? These people were elected to these positions.
Are they serving us? They probably shouldn't have been.
One of them's gone. They deserve respect while they're doing our business, and if you can't give it for them, run for the positions and do a better job yourself. That would be easy. We finally vote for the ones that run now. Yeah.
All right, you can turn the volume. Just keep the video going, but keep the volume down. You know, Mayor Rosbach, these people were out of line. There were people in there that were out of line. There was no question about it. And they may think it's funny to be tricky. Now, there's no meeting going on. This lady comes up and tries to talk, but she didn't really understand there was no meeting going on. So that's why I'm talking over this right now. But Mayor Rosbach handled it wrong. He already warned the people about clapping. If you were down at the legislature and there was clapping, that gavel would come down right away. There'd be a stern warning. And the next time somebody claps in here, those people will be out. Otherwise, we'll remove everybody and just have our hearing, okay, with no witnesses. And that's what they do. They'll move people out. And once in a while, clapping will happen again. They bang down that gavel and say, that's your last warning. And I've never seen it happen again, but I have seen people taken out and escorted out of the meetings. Let's turn the volume up here, what they're saying here.
This is a dictatorship. Oh, see,
Robert's rules of meetings. And that's what they're required to run. Do you know Robert's rule?
why won't he answer the questions? Where are the other people supporting you?
Right here.
Good, you can speak up.
Okay, we can turn the volume down again. You see it's a packed house anyway, and oh, they're going to get the meeting going again. But the main thing, he should have kicked out some people or removed people. He should have done that. That's an easy call, okay? And he should have brought order. He doesn't know how to do that. It's just, I mean, he needs an anger management class. Something needs to happen.
Those people who are maybe at the doors, if you could close the doors, I think most of the noise is coming from the lobby.